The first night the apocalyptic ice age struck, the neighbors who stole my shelter are killing each other inside right now. And I'm sitting here with a hot coffee, watching a live show. 3 hours ago, they did it in the name of the collective good. They broke in and forced me to give up this shelter. They thought they'd seized Noah's Ark for the end of the world. But what they don't know is, the core system of the shelter is bound to my DNA. Without me, this place is nothing close to a shelter. It's just a fully automatic meat grinder. Before the apocalyptic ice age came, I spent all my savings deep in the mountains to build a top-tier, fully automated shelter. I stockpiled enough food to last 3 lifetimes. Generator units, temperature control system, automatic defense array. Everything I needed was here. But the night before the apocalypse began, the Wealthy Property Owners Committee from my old neighborhood broke down my door. They kicked me out of my shelter in the name of the collective good.
The weather out here is just terrible. You hog such a big basement all by yourself. Don't you think that's way too selfish?
Exactly. This shelter was built out of the community's underground space. That means it's public property belonging to all residents. Why should you get to live here alone?
I stood still, just watching them silently. Every steel plate in this shelter was welded by my own hands. Every wire was laid by me personally. But now it's somehow become their public property. What do you want from me?
Hand over the keys and get the hell out. Since you did a pretty good job building this place, we'll even leave you a couple of cold-resistant coats. Right now the snow hasn't completely blocked the mountain. Take your stuff and get out of here now.
The system of this shelter is DNA locked. Nobody can operate it except me.
What fancy tech nonsense. If we just smash this crappy computer, we'll figure out how to take control, of course. Hurry up and sign the permission transfer form, then get out. Administrator privileges revoked. Current status, public access mode.
There you go. This is what you wanted. Good man. That's the right call. When I walked out the shelter gate, they were already moving cans into the warehouse. Their faces were glowing with the joy of surviving disaster. After experiencing all the cruelty of the world, I had no desire to stay. I only have one wish. May you all still be alive when spring comes next year. I turned and walked toward the extremely hidden emergency escape tunnel behind the shelter. This isn't a shelter at all. The program's locked us out. Next, the security protocol will. The fully automated incinerator for the greedy. From this moment on, this underground space will be completely isolated from the world. Wanda F.A., sitting in that leather swivel chair that was originally mine, swirling half a glass of red wine in his hand. His eyes are filled with unconcealable ecstasy.
This place's owner, what extreme cold apocalypse. We're practically on vacation.
Waves of laughter echoed in the room.
With this door outside, who could possibly get in? From today, this place is ours.
However, they didn't notice the temperature control display in the corner, changing from 22 degrees Celsius to 20.
Strange, why does it feel a bit cold? Maybe the vent isn't closed tight. After all, this place hasn't been lived in for a long time.
What's all the fuss about? Come on, keep drinking.
At that moment, I was sitting in an underground bunker 3 kilometers from the shelter. On the screen in front of me, everything inside the shelter was being broadcast live. The program has been initiated. The system has detected non-bound DNA lingering for an extended period, and no identity verification has been performed. According to program logic, the shelter enters automatic purification mode. Since you've broken in, you should understand. This was never a sanctuary prepared for robbers. Inside the shelter, the thermometer's needle began to plummet. 18 degrees, 10 degrees, in less than half an hour. Visible white breath could be seen in the room.
What's going on? Why is the heating cut off?
Wanda F.A. pushed the swivel chair away. He rushed to the control panel, frantically pressing the buttons. But on the screen, only one line of cold, red text was displayed. Unauthorized operation detected.
Warning? I'm the master here. What lousy machine? Warning, violent dismantling detected. Security defense level elevated to maximum. Air circulation system severed.
What? Air cut off?
Can't push this door open. It's locked. Damn it, not a single crack.
Quick. Think of something. How did that slick-haired guy in the suit set this up?
Impossible. Impossible.
Wanda F.A. was drenched in sweat. He tried to connect the backup power supply, only to find the entire power system had been locked down. All the output energy was actually being channeled entirely to the shelter's incinerator.
Call for help. Call for help outside.
This is 20 meters underground. Sister Lee is crying uncontrollably, completely breaking down in suffocating panic. 2 meters thick of concrete and lead plating. Traps every cry for help inside, completely cut off from the outside. I know you're watching. Please, open the door. We're dying. We were wrong. You can't do this. Let us out. I don't need to pay any attention to their pleas. The rules of the apocalypse are simple. They chose to rob and plunder, so they have to pay the price for it. Page 1. This is the shelter they chose for themselves. On this freezing night, they'll finally understand that so-called public property is absolutely worthless in the face of death. And this is just the beginning. Inside the shelter, the oxygen concentration has already dropped to a critical level. Those men and women who once were crisp suits and sparkled with fancy jewelry, the elite property owners, have long forgotten all about dignity by now.
Stop! That's mine.
Sister Lee, who was once so delicate and soft, is now huddling in the corner.
Warning, insufficient oxygen reserve detected. Current efficiency of the ecological cycle system is only 12%. To ensure power supply for the core area, it is recommended to activate the Resource Allocation Optimization Protocol. Resource Allocation Optimization.
Wang Defa hears this announcement, and a crazy glint flashes in his eyes.
The elderly, weak, sick, and disabled, and all those useless people with no contribution. They don't deserve to waste the shelter's air. In this cramped underground space,
The veneer of civilization has been torn to shreds.
throw them out or lock them up in the storage room.
In its place is the most primitive, cruel law of the jungle.
No! I didn't do anything wrong. Please don't push me out.
Don't look at me. Don't pick me. Stay away from me, all of you.
This isn't me being indifferent to human life. It's just an objective observation. And 3 kilometers away in a hidden base, I'm sitting here with my legs crossed, watching everything unfold before my eyes. The infrared thermal imaging on the screen shows the heat signatures inside the shelter are disappearing one by one. Looks like they've finally evolved. I put down my notebook and mutter to myself, it's just like throwing a piece of meat in front of a pack of starving wolves. You can't blame the wolves for biting. You can only blame the person who threw the meat for failing to see the wolf's true nature coming. The shelter's security system has now detected violent conflict inside the facility. A terrified look spreads across Wang Defa's face.
Warning, high-intensity conflict detected indoors. The shelter's core facilities may be damaged. Force cooling measures activated.
The already frigid environment, now covered in liquid nitrogen, instantly plummets below minus 80 degrees.
This shouldn't be. The system shouldn't be erasing me too.
Wang Defa desperately runs toward the main door, try to escape this hellish room. Tonight, the shelter became a true icebox. He looks desperately at the surveillance feed, trying to meet my gaze. Time for phase 3 of the game. I stand up, walk to the base's equipment room, and slowly pull the safety cover off the sealed, full system reboot button. Pressing this key will completely shut down the shelter's seismic dampening system. The entire underground structure, under the immense pressure of the external ice layer, will become their tomb. My finger hovers over that crimson safety cover. A light press, and the entire shelter support structure will immediately trigger the self-destruct protocol. Just then, the emergency comms channel emits a piercing static screech.
Lin Yuan, I know you're listening.
Wang Defa is curled up on the control room floor. Due to the extreme cold, his eyes are even bloodshot from burst capillaries.
We were wrong. Please, even if we have to be your slaves. Even if we die outside, don't lock us in here. This place collapsed.
The external crust has shifted slightly in the extreme cold. The load-bearing columns were already cracked. The system always classified these cracks as normal wear. Once the support field fails, they'll be fatal. I don't answer him. I just quietly watch his twisted, contorted face.
You monster. You'll die a horrible death. You tricked us in here. You just want to watch us die.
You have no conscience. In this apocalypse, only the weak talk about morality. The strong talk about rules. You're right. I did trick you in. But if you weren't so greedy, if you didn't plan to rob someone else's shelter, if you had even a shred of decency, how could you have ended up like this? My voice echoes through the shelter via the loudspeakers. The remaining survivors hear it. One by one, it looks as if they've seen a ghost.
Lin Yuan. It's Lin Yuan. Kill him. He's outside.
The crowd descends into a final, desperate frenzy, charging toward that door, ram it with their own bodies, trying to break out of this cage that's about to collapse. I look away, and my finger slams hard on that button.
Confirming execution of the structural disintegration protocol. Warning, ambiguous structural risk detected.
The shelter will, in 60 seconds, initiate the permanent closure and reconstruction process. The ground is shaking. That's a real, thunderous roar. On the screen, the ceilings inside the shelter start collapsing one after another. Thick concrete blocks are like boulders thrown by death itself. The surveillance feed turns to static snow. In the area where the shelter is located, due to the complete fracture of the load-bearing columns, the several-meter-thick layer of snow and permafrost above collapses instantly. The entire shelter is buried deep under 30 meters of ice underground. Everything falls dead silent. I stand up, walk to the observation port of the bunker, push open that heavy steel plate door. There used to be a so-called elite shelter here. Now it's nothing but a graveyard covered in ice and snow. I let out a sigh. There's a biting chill in the air, yet it makes me feel more refreshed than ever before. That's that. I close the bunker door, head for the greenhouse area of the base. Over there, a batch of cold-resistant potatoes I planted has already sprouted green buds. Without those reckless intruders, I can finally live the rest of my days on my own terms. But just as I'm about to turn and leave, the sensor outside the base suddenly lets out a faint alarm. It's not an aftershock from the shelter collapse. That's a heat signature trigger. On this wasteland, I've completely cleared out. There's somehow a second person alive besides me. The alarm isn't triggered by aftershock monitoring after the shelter collapse. It's from a number 3 infrared sensor point on the perimeter of the base. I put down the potato seed in my hand, my expression turning icy in an instant. This base was picked by me before the extreme cold hit. As a backup safe house I worked so hard to secure. Logically, there's no way any survivor could get through that dead zone and find this place. I hurry to the surveillance room and turn on the main screen. A blurry black figure is staggering toward the entrance of the bunker. How can this be? I furrow my brow. Don't rush to activate the defense system right away. If they're survivors from those shelter owners, they shouldn't have even climbed out yet. Even if they did, there's no way they can find this place so accurately. I quickly adjust the surveillance focus and get a clear look at the woman. She's in a terrible state, half her face frostbitten. She doesn't seem to be wandering aimlessly. She's looking for something. He stopped at the camouflage cover over the bunker entrance. He pulled a metal cylinder from his coat. A thermal signal transmitter. My heart sank. Damn, that's my personal device for marking safe zones. No one else in the world has one but me. I didn't hesitate. I suited up in an exoskeleton, grabbed a tactical knife, took a side passage from the bunker, and emerged silently on the surface. Wind and snow instantly lashed my helmet like blades. I walked up to her. Who are you?
It really is Lin Yuan.
How did you find this place? Who gave you the transmitter?
I'm Su Qing. I didn't steal it. My father gave it to me.
Su Qing. I searched my memory for the name. In my past life, in the 3rd year of the Great Freeze, wasn't it the female leader who founded the Wasteland Order Alliance? But that's 3 years from now. Right now, she should just be an ordinary person. Who is your father?
My father was Su Changqing. He was a geological survey engineer. Before he died, he shoved this map and this device at me. He said, if the Great Freeze disaster ever came, if anyone actually survived, find the man named Lin Yuan.
My pupils contracted slightly. That engineer who analyzed the shelter's geology early in the apocalypse. No wonder he could deduce my base's location.
Save them. The children are in the cellar of the abandoned school over there. There are more than 40 survivors.
My gaze swept the area. Through the blizzard, I could just make out the faint traces of lights in the distance. That was indeed the direction of the school. I faced a choice. Take this woman back with me, and my base coordinates are completely exposed. My peaceful solo survival life is shattered. Or turn and leave now. Watch this woman freeze to death in the storm, and keep my secret. I looked at her face, twisted from frostbite. I thought of those elites on the screen, fighting for oxygen. What a pain. I sighed, holstered my gun, hauled her up from the snow, and slung her over my shoulder. If you're lying to me, your death will be uglier than Wong Def's. I strode back to the bunker. Behind me, the long trail of footprints was quickly erased by the gale. And at this moment, the man in black armor felt an unprecedented sense of crisis for the first time. This extreme cold apocalypse might be even more complex than he anticipated. If Su Changqing knows my base coordinates, then who else knows? Inside the medical room of the hidden fortress, the air was clean, even carrying a faint scent of disinfectant, a stark contrast to the world outside, filled with frost and decay. It felt like 2 different dimensions. When Su Qing woke from her coma, her entire body was still trembling violently. It was a physiological reaction from the depths of the extreme cold.
Your place here is even more complete than the Dawn base in my previous life.
Hearing this, my movements paused slightly. Are you referring to your dream, or your so-called premonition?
Think what you will. But one thing I'm sure of, if we don't get to the school in time, those kids won't survive tomorrow night.
You need to understand your current situation. I saved you, because I want to know how you found this place.
That's 40 lives. And they're not just children. A few are former municipal archive managers. There's also an energy technician. In this apocalypse, these people are more valuable than your canned food reserves.
I put away my cold expression and studied him. True, in this era of collapsed industrialization, knowledge and technology are the rarest resources. If there really are engineers and technicians at that school, then this deal might be worth making. But I still didn't agree directly. I need to scout first. I donned my tactical exoskeleton, put on my mask, and slid a signal flare into the hook on my belt. If that place is already a death trap, or targeted by other raiders, I'll leave immediately. We have to make it in time. 3 hours later, I lay hidden on the roof of an abandoned apartment building opposite the school. Through the high-powered thermal imager, I saw the school's horrific state. This wasn't the deathly silence brought by the extreme cold. This was man-made slaughter. And on one side of the building were several modified heavy-duty pickup trucks. Mounted on top were makeshift machine guns. The Hound Gang. These desperados specialized in violently plundering survivor supplies and people. Through the binoculars, I saw several children with their hands tied behind their backs, being pushed out. Surrounding them were thugs wearing filthy furs, waving the iron rod playfully. Looks like this isn't just a game for survival. Some people are out here hunting for sport. I originally just came to see if there was any capable talent worth recruiting. But what I saw right before my eyes struck the chord in my heart that's called order. If these thugs are allowed to hold this place, it won't take long. They'll expand their territory, and eventually they'll even find their way to my hill. One cannot let wolves and tigers rest right beside one's bed. But as I turned my head, I looked over at the children huddled, trembling in the wind and snow far away. And I thought again of Suchi. Those desperate eyes, fighting just to stay alive. You're lucky this time. The moment my fingers released the bowstring, the whoosh of the arrow was swallowed up by the howling wind and snow. This hunt just swapped roles. It's no longer the hound pack hunting the survivors. It's me hunting them. On the playground under the cover of night. It's so quiet that all you can hear is the breath of the thugs.
I'll give you 1 more minute. If no one brings out the hidden cans, I'll...
The leader's cackle suddenly cut off. His whole body went limp like a puppet cut from strings. Fell straight backward. Who's there? Before the remaining thugs on the playground could even react, they saw a charred black hole right between their leader's eyebrows. I was lurking on the rooftop, compound bow in my hand, like a precise reaper of death. Every arrow I loose brings another thug crashing down. In their eyes, I'm just a ghost in this polar night. A grim reaper, far more terrifying than the biting cold. The few remaining thugs completely lost their minds. Ran like mad for the school gate. I leaped down from the rooftop, landed without a sound. I walked slowly toward those huddled together. Trembling survivors. Most of them are children. And a few middle-aged men who look like well-educated intellectuals.
Who are you?
I didn't answer, just pointed at the school gate. If you want to live, follow me.
Come on.
Along the way, I didn't take them to any so-called safe zone. I brought them back to my base. I stood on the platform looking out at the survivors. I didn't save you out of the kindness of my heart. I did it so this base can keep running. I laid the drafted survival contract out on the table. Those with technical skills will handle heating and energy maintenance. Those good at management will register supplies. As for the children, right here, only those who can work are qualified to eat. In this base, there is no public property, only obedience or death. I turned to the surveillance screen. On the other end, the shelter beneath the ruins has long been completely frozen over. Those greedy homeowners association members thought that by taking my key, they could take my world. They didn't understand. The shelter is just a shell. The real base is these hands that can restore order. Wanda F.A. is dead. His followers are dead. They died from greed, from ignorance, from the arrogance most worthless in this apocalypse. I walk to the observation window. I look out at the endless blizzard. The apocalypse isn't over. This extreme cold may last a long time. I open the communicator. I broadcast a message to the entire base's internal channel. Welcome to the new world. From today, this is the only truth.